They lied to you about jobs. Here's what you really need to know. Do you ever feel nervous about stepping into the professional world, like everything you've done so far is supposed to magically lead to a job, but somehow you're just stuck? Maybe you've graduated, maybe you're still studying, or maybe you're a few years out of school, but that question keeps creeping in. Why is getting a decent job so hard? You followed the rules. You did what you were told. You studied hard, showed up, took the exams, got the degree, and still, it feels like the world of work is playing a completely different game than the one you were trained for. You're not alone. And it's not your fault. Today, we're going to talk about something that most universities never say out loud and maybe can't afford to. We're talking about the lies. The well-meaning, but completely outdated advice that's still being handed out like gospel on campuses all over the world. And if you've ever felt confused, disappointed, or just flat out betrayed by how hard it is to get your foot in the door, this video is for you. In this conversation, we'll unpack 4 of the biggest lies that you've probably heard from your university about getting a job, and more importantly, what you can actually do instead. So grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's talk about the first one. You've probably heard it in orientation, in career workshops, or even from professors themselves. If you just get good grades, companies will come looking for you. It's one of the oldest, most comforting myths in the academic world. And at first glance, it makes sense. Good grades mean you're smart, hardworking, reliable, exactly what employers want, right? Well, kind of. But not really. Here's the truth, your GPA is rarely the reason someone gets hired. In fact, after your first job, or sometimes even for your first job, it barely matters. What hiring managers really want to know is, can you solve problems? Can you communicate clearly? Do you take initiative? Can you work well with others, especially when things get stressful? A 4.0 GPA looks great on paper, but if you don't have any experience applying that knowledge in the real world, you're just another name in a stack of resumes. Think about it this way. Would you hire a mechanic who's read every manual in the world but never fixed a car? Probably not. Employers think the same way. I once met a guy named Tony, smart, sharp, graduated top of his class in engineering. He thought his perfect transcript would land him a dream job right out of school. But it didn't. He spent 6 months sending out resumes and hearing nothing back. Then, one day, he decided to build a small project, a smart mirror using a Raspberry Pi. He documented the process, posted it online, and started talking about it in interviews. That's when things changed. Suddenly, he wasn't just a guy with good grades, he was someone who could do something with them. So no, good grades aren't a waste, but they're not the golden ticket either. Employers are looking for proof that you can take what you've learned and actually do something with it. That brings us to the second lie, and this one stings a little. Your degree is your most valuable asset. Look, your degree matters. It shows commitment, effort, and a certain level of discipline. But let's be real, it's not 1995 anymore. These days, having a degree is more like having a license to play the game, not an automatic win. And what's worse, the job market is flooded with people who have the same degree as you. So just having it doesn't make you special. It's what you do alongside your degree that makes the difference. Have you built something? Written about something? Started something? Helped someone? That's what makes employers pause. That's what makes them remember you. Because in a world full of graduates, the ones who stand out are the ones who take their education and run with it. There's a woman I know, let's call her Maya. She studied communications. Pretty standard, right? Nothing flashy. But during college, she volunteered to manage social media for a local animal shelter. No pay, just passion. Over time, she grew their account from 300 to over 20,000 followers. That's a portfolio. That's experience. And guess what? She got a full-time job in marketing before she even graduated. Because when she walked into interviews, she didn't just talk about theory, she had stories. Real ones. She had numbers. Impact. Results. So, if you're sitting there feeling unsure, like your degree just isn't opening doors the way you thought it would, it's okay. You're not doing anything wrong. But you might need to change your approach. Start thinking about your degree as the starting point, not the final product. What else can you add? What can you build, create, test, or share? Employers want to see who you are beyond the classroom. Now that we've unpacked these two big myths, the idea that good grades will bring companies to your door, and the belief that your degree is your golden key, you might be wondering, okay, so what actually works? What should I be doing? Let's talk about that next. So, if the degree and the grades aren't enough to land you that dream job, what's next? Well, here comes another tough pill to swallow, and this one might challenge a belief that's been drilled into you since your very first year at university. If you follow your passion, the job will follow. Now, don't get me wrong, I love passion. Passion is powerful. It's the fuel that keeps you going when things get hard. But here's where this advice gets tricky. Universities often tell you to just do what you love, as if the job market is set up to reward that kind of purity. Like if you love photography, or philosophy, or art history, there's a thriving job out there with your name on it, waiting patiently for you to show up. But here's the truth, passion without a plan is just a hobby. And a lot of people end up bitter, burned out, or broke because they were never taught how to connect that passion to a real-world need. They thought loving something was enough, and no one ever told them how to turn that love into value for someone else. That's what gets overlooked. The job market doesn't hire based on how much you love something. It hires based on what problems you can solve for them. Let's say you're into writing, deeply passionate about storytelling. Amazing. But passion alone won't pay your rent. Now, if you take that passion and say, I'm going to learn copywriting and help brands tell better stories that increase their sales, boom. Now you've got something. Now you're solving a problem. That's when people start listening. Or maybe you love video games. Great. But instead of just playing them, what if you started analyzing them? Making content? Writing about the mechanics, the design, the psychology behind them? Maybe you dive into UX design or game development. That's passion meeting purpose. There's a guy named Leo the first once worked with, big gamer, always had been. Everyone around him told him to be realistic. So he studied business, played games on the side, and felt miserable. Until one day, he decided to apply for a community manager role at a small indie game studio. He didn't have a degree in game design, but he had years of experience inside that world. He knew what players wanted, how they thought, what frustrated them. He got the job. The passion was always there. But the moment he aligned it with a real need, that's when it became a career. So yes, follow your passion. But don't stop there. Learn how to make that passion useful. Learn how to speak the language of impact, of value, of contribution. That's what separates dreamers from doers. And now, let's talk about the final lie, the one that might sound comforting at first, but quietly holds a lot of people back. Your first job determines your future. This one hits people right after graduation, especially when they don't land the job they hoped for. Maybe you get a temp role, a job in retail, customer service, something unrelated to your degree. And suddenly, that little voice in your head says, you've already failed. You're falling behind. Let me say this loud and clear, your first job does not define you. It doesn't lock you in. It doesn't trap you. It's just your first job. I know people who started in coffee shops and now run marketing departments. People who were administrative assistants and now lead product teams. People who studied biology but ended up in tech. Your career is not a straight line. It's a zigzag. A dance. A messy, beautiful experiment. And every step you take teaches you something about people, about systems, about yourself. What matters isn't whether your first job is perfect. What matters is whether you're learning, growing, and moving towards something that feels right. Take Sarah, for example. She graduated with a degree in environmental science, wanted to work in sustainability consulting. But nothing came through. Her first job? Working front desk at a co-working space. At first, she felt embarrassed. But over time, she started observing how startups worked, how teams communicated, how leaders built cultures. She made connections. She asked questions. She volunteered to help with eco-friendly initiatives in the office. 2 years later, she was managing operations for a sustainability-focused nonprofit. She didn't wait for the perfect job. She used what she had, right where she was. And she built her way forward. So if you're in a role right now that doesn't look like what you imagined, don't panic. You're not late. You're not stuck. You're just getting started. Keep your eyes open, your mind flexible, and your heart focused. The road might be longer than you thought, but that doesn't mean it's the wrong one. And remember, the world of work is changing fast. There are jobs today that didn't exist 5 years ago. And 5 years from now, you might be doing something that hasn't even been invented yet. The skills you pick up along the way, how to think critically, communicate clearly, adapt quickly, those are the real currencies of the future. So whether you're on your first job or your fourth, don't worry about matching your title to your degree. Focus on building momentum. Build skills. Build relationships. Build trust. Because no one's path is perfectly mapped out, and often, the detours end up being the best part of the journey. And speaking of journeys, let's keep this one going. We've talked about the myths, the mindset shifts, and the missteps that can trip us up. But how do we move forward from here? How do we take all this insight and turn it into action? Let's wrap it all up in the next part. By now, we've pulled back the curtain on some of the biggest myths you were probably told about landing a job, and it might feel like a lot. Like maybe the ground beneath you has shifted a little. And that's okay. Sometimes the most freeing thing is realizing you were never broken, the system just didn't give you the full picture. So let's take a breath, together. Because this last part isn't about what went wrong. It's about what you can do from here. If you've been feeling stuck, uncertain, or even a little defeated by the whole job hunt experience, I want you to hear this clearly: you are not behind. You are not late. You are not the only one figuring it out as you go. So many people feel pressure to have their career mapped out like a GPS route, point A to point B, no wrong turns. But real life doesn't work that way. Most of the successful people you look up to, they didn't follow a linear path. They tried things. They failed. They learned. They pivoted. And every step along the way added something to who they were becoming. And that's really the truth no one tells you at graduation. The goal isn't to land the job. The goal is to build a life, a meaningful one. A resilient one. A life where your work aligns with who you are, even if it takes a little while to get there. So if the job you want isn't calling back, don't take it personally. It doesn't mean you're not worthy. It means you're still in the discovery phase. And honestly, that's a pretty exciting place to be. Because the moment you stop chasing what you think you should be doing and start asking what you actually want to grow into, that's when the magic starts. Let's get practical for a moment. If everything we've talked about has you wondering where to even begin, start here. Get curious. About industries, about people, about problems that need solving. Curiosity is your compass. And from there, take small, brave steps. Reach out to someone on LinkedIn you admire, not to ask for a job, but to ask for their story. Start a side project, even if it's messy. Join an online community. Write about what you're learning. Build something. Help someone. Show up. The best thing you can do for your career right now isn't perfect your resume, it's to become interesting. To become someone who takes initiative. Who experiments. Who grows. Because when you do that, doors start opening where there used to be walls. And here's the wild part: the more action you take, the more your story starts to write itself. One connection leads to another. One opportunity opens up a new path. One small yes builds the confidence for a bigger one later. Momentum is real. And you don't need to have it all figured out to start creating it. But maybe right now, you're dealing with rejection. Maybe you've applied to 20 jobs and heard nothing back. Maybe you're working a job that has nothing to do with your degree and wondering if any of this was worth it. That feeling? That heavy, quiet fear that you've somehow messed up? You're not alone in that either. Rejection hurts. And it's okay to admit that. But it's not a verdict on your value. Most of the time, it just means you haven't found the right fit yet. And trust me, the right opportunity won't care if you got rejected 5 times or 50. All it will care about is what you've learned in the meantime and how you show up when it matters. So instead of asking, why haven't I been hired yet? Ask, what am I learning about myself? What skills am I building? Who am I becoming through this process? Because growth is happening, even when it doesn't look like it. Especially when it doesn't look like it. And to everyone who feels like they're not doing enough right now, I want to remind you, you are doing more than you think. Watching videos like this. Reflecting. Trying. That counts. You're in the arena. And that matters. So what now? Keep moving. Keep learning. Keep showing up, not just for jobs, but for yourself. The job market is not a perfect system, but you can be powerful inside it. You can be resourceful. You can be bold. You can be kind. And those qualities? They don't expire. They don't disappear when the job offers don't come right away. They're yours. And they're building something that lasts longer than any resume ever will. And maybe that's the final truth no one tells you. Your career isn't something you find, it's something you build. Step by step. Failure by failure. Win by win. Day by day. And I believe in the version of you that's building it. Not the perfect version. Not the polished version. The real one. The one who's still figuring it out, still trying, still growing. That's the version the world needs. So if any part of this video spoke to you, if it reminded you that you're not alone, or helped you see your path a little more clearly, let's talk about it. Drop a comment below. Share your story. Let's make this a space where we lift each other up, not compare timelines. And hey, if this video helped you in any way, I'd love for you to like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. We're building a community here, one real conversation at a time. No matter where you're starting from, or what you've been told, know this, you're not behind. You're not broken. And your future is still wide open. So here's to the road ahead. Here's to the detours, the surprises, the pivots, the reinventions. Here's to becoming. Wishing you a future that feels right, fits real, and grows as you do. You've got this.